Welcome back to your favorite web-based television, music, YouTube channel. We are three dudes in a record store. I am your host, the Skip Bayless of music television, Greg Horn. Behind the camera doing all the things he loves to do and more, the metal maniac, Jason. And this guy, the Emperor of Esoteric, B. What's up, homie?
That nickname's gonna stick.
It's gonna. I gave it to you.
Can't shake it now.
It's gonna. So we're back. We have a great topic, but before we get into that, we had a little snafu with our sound and visual last week, so we scrapped another episode, but we will be touching on that one again soon in the coming weeks.
We just had to make the people wait.
A little bit. We're getting those numbers up there. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends, post these videos on your Facebook channel. We need to get to 1,000 subscribers. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm not going small. I'm not going 100. I'm not going 500. I'm going 1,000. When we get to 1,000, we're going to do something special. So put your seatbelts on.
Yeah.
But we're only going to do one episode this week because the Metal Maniac is a prolific child bearer.
He's got a life. He's got a family.
Their birthdays, and he's a family guy. He does the family thing. He's a good dude.
He's doing it.
So we're coming very, very hard this week with crappy albums from great bands. So excited! I love things that people hate. I love to hate things people love. Yes.
Get people a little riled up.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
This guy's going to be ruffling some feathers for sure.
All the feathers, not just some feathers. Every feather on the chicken.
Yeah.
And
we know that you hate some albums by bands that you love.
Yeah, and it's not like a catalog where every single album's a banger and they have one bad one. Some of these bands have, when you're around 30, 40 years, you're going to have 4 or 5 kind of clunkers. And I culled out special ones, and I tried to not make my list too wide, but it was kind of hard, so I think I kind of kept it between the hedges.
As I was researching for this, I found that I was way more forgiving than I thought I was going to be, so it made it a little difficult. Like some of these I go, this is a bad album, right? And then I find myself not hating it that much.
That's such a giant heart. Yeah. For me, I'd love to criticize and nitpick, but that's that cynical, negative side for me. I love it.
And I was going to make the disclaimer that, don't take this too personally. We're not trying to crap on stuff you like. This guy probably doesn't care. He's going to crap on it.
I'm going to.
Yeah. I'm going to take a softer approach.
I'm just going to put the record out in front of you. I'm going to take a dump on it. I'm going to hand it to you and be like, why do you like that?
You can do that because you don't own a record store.
Correct.
So you're not trying to sell
I don't have to be
stuff
PC.
To people. Yeah.
You could come down here and buy all these awful records and then buy some great records while you're here because we've got 5 things.
And if there's something on our list that you think's a great record, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to appreciate your feelings about it. This guy was just straight up.
Please, the comment section is active. Be active in it. Give us your list of crappy things from great bands. Give us a list of why we're wrong. Get at us. Let's have a little dialogue in the comment section.
As far as I'm concerned, we're doing this in good fun. It's good.
Yes,
faith.
we are doing this in good fun. It is all good fun.
Yeah.
Although I really do hate these records, but it's in a fun way.
In a fun way, for sure.
You're going to notice that this week I do not have things to show you because I do not buy crappy records.
I was going to mention that as well. There's
no site,
nothing to display,
nothing for you to just Because don't avoid these at all.
I don't have these records in my collection, so not touching them.
As always, we're going to go over dishonorable mentions. We're going to read the Metal Maniacs list. I can't believe how much work that the Maniac put in.
I'm curious about this.
And then 5 to 1, 1 to 5. We're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get into it. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
I'm feeling Greg and I might get in a fight here.
I know it's gonna be awesome. All right, it's up there on the list.
I'm not studying.
So I'll cut right to the chase and get into my dishonorable mentions. I'm sure some of these are not gonna shock anyone.
Yeah.
The first one up from 1998. Slayer has a formula. You can love it or you can hate it, but it works. Stay with it. The one time they don't stay with it, you get Diabolus in Musica. Like, don't do that.
I don't even remember.
They tried to kind of go new metal-ish.
Yeah.
It's
I don't even remember how I feel about that record. I kind of remember when it came out, but anybody trying to go new metal, which is NU metal.
Yeah, Slayer doesn't need to reinvent their sound. They don't need to go experimental. They don't need to drop tune. They don't need to do any of that stuff. Just be Slayer. Just that's what we love. That's why we love you.
Don't try to do something different if you're Slayer.
What have I always said? I can't have a list if I don't put Kiss on it. And you're like, what Kiss album could you possibly put? The Kiss album that kind of started the unraveling of Kiss. Music from the Elder.
Yeah, I knew.
You will see me say on this list several times, some bands just shouldn't put out concept records. You're not that band.
So you weren't even going for Dynasty.
I love Dynasty. I love Dynasty.
Me too.
Some people say
I love Dynasty.
They
Thank
went
you.
disco on
I
the record.
love Dynasty.
I love
Dynasty
as well.
Once again, what do we say? They kind of opened their sound to new techniques and things that were going on. They wrapped it around a little bit of that disco groove.
Yeah.
But that's a good record.
It is a good record.
That's not a bad record. This record, on the other hand, their attempt at a concept record, pretty much signaling the end of the Ace era. Their producer, Bob Ezrin, who was famous in his own right, attributes the entire album to cocaine abuse. And I don't disagree. The Heroes song is kind of catchy and it kind of grabs you, but overall that record's a deep fried turd.
What year did that one come out?
That one came out in 81.
81. So
And then Ace kind of hung on until right around 82, but he didn't record again until, Psycho Circus?
Yeah.
But then Kiss gets reinvented with Vinnie Vincent writing a lot of that
Now,
Lick It
on
Up
the
record.
next record, I believe,
Creatures of the Night?
Ace is pictured on the front.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that
But
record.
Vinnie played that whole...
Well,
And Eric Carr was on
so
drums.
they
on
still
that one.
had Peter Criss and Ace pictured in the band on the cover of the record.
Yeah.
So let's just say cocaine-fueled recording sessions can go
wrong.
either way.
Off the rails.
Sometimes it works out real
Sometimes
good.
it does work out really
Yeah,
good.
but-
We do this
but-
show high on coke all the
Yeah.
time.
We're not recording an album, but be careful with the coke.
If you get kicked out of the band, start your own band, then the drummer of the band you were kicked out of says that your band doesn't take enough risks, don't then record an album called Risk.
There you
And that's exactly what Megadeth did, and it's a turd. They tried to write radio metal. Again, I don't write music. I don't do this thing.
Yeah.
So they get a certain amount of respect, obviously. But when you sit down and try hard to write something in specificity, it's always going to fail. Just let the muse take you where it takes
I
you.
think that's where a lot of bad albums come from good bands. Is they get to a point where maybe all of that stuff that just flowed out of them and created great music early on, now they're thinking too much about it. And
Overthinking it.
I
I
think
agree.
with Dave Mustaine, I think it was inevitable. It was just a matter of time before he made a real clinker record. Some of the best metal records in history from this guy, but
Yeah, he's a thrash legend, and maybe the actual. I think most of thrash bands owe him a debt of gratitude, but this
where a
record
particular
isn't.
band that he once associated with was maybe making questionable choices. He came out with.
You might see them on the
with,
list later on down the
Which
line.
one? 1990 Countdown to Extinction. Is that the right one?
No, that was a great record.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is. Dave
But again,
picked that out.
I mean,
while
if you're
his
looking
former colleagues,
98
are-
Slayer, 99. So the end of the 90s, a lot of these bands were kind of.
they were scrambling to figure out what the hell they were doing. It was kind of rough. You really?
Going
I'm sorry,
there.
I looked at the
you
list.
right?
I wasn't supposed to
going
look
there.
at the list.
Judas Priest has several albums that you could consider not great. If I'm taking the 2 albums away with The Ripper and only going
Yeah,
Rob Halford records, this album is trash.
it would kind of be unfair to throw the Ripper
So-
in there, maybe.
Rob leaves the band. He comes up with all this great stuff. They're awesome. He leaves, goes and does his own thing, forms Fight,
Yeah.
forms a band called Two, comes back. They release Angel of Retribution. Great album.
That was
A
pretty darn
return
good.
to form.
I saw him on that tour.
And then what happens? A band that should not be doing concept records tries to do a concept record about Nostradamus. Take the whole thing, put it in the toilet, and flush it. Don't even bother listening to it. It's crap.
Don't
2008,
even wipe, just
Nostradamus. Huge disappointment after that Angel of Retribution album was so good. I saw them live when they did Ozfest for that
okay,
record.
Yeah.
Such a return to form of what we loved about old school
Yeah.
Priest, and then they completely went. Luckily, they righted the ship with Firepower, but this album is
Yeah, Firepower was pretty good. Yeah.
and it's long. It is long for like a. I don't want to put Priest in the category because they have earned the right to do whatever they want, but we want our Priest records clocking in at like 40 minutes tops.
That's fair.
Like that's
Yeah.
it. Like anything more than that, you're doing too much.
Why did they do this? What were they thinking?
Maybe an artist needs to
Yeah.
spread their wings and
Yeah.
and do some stuff,
I
but
want to be artists.
it's too synth heavy as well, and not in an awesome turbo is synth heavy way. Because I love how synthy that album is, but this one just doesn't. Another giant.
How many you got on this list?
I think I just have like 6 on my honorable mentions. My dishonorable mentions. Another metal giant, Iron Maiden. They have the same issue. They make some great records. Bruce leaves. They do 2, I think, with. Then he comes back. So in that frame of coming back, they've had a few clunkers, but none more clunky than the Final Frontier. I just can't stand it. It's just bad from start to finish. There's nothing on it. It's overly complex. It's their second longest record they've ever done. Not in a good way. It's boring. It's tedious.
They were overthinking it.
2010, they could have just wiped that off the map. And
I mean, we can be a little forgiving for the fact that bands like Priest and Maiden had been around as long as they had.
yeah,
You
I don't
know,
hold
so
it against them
30 to
personally.
40 years.
But if I didn't point it out, then maybe they make Nostradamus Part 2. Who the hell wants that?
Yeah.
Oh, nobody
I
wants
think
that.
I think that Halford is listening right now. He's not going to do
Is
it.
he?
because
Do you
we
think
talked
so?
about it.
I love you, Ron.
We're good for you, dude.
And,
Keeping you on point.
I'm 100% down with whatever Priest comes out with next. Don't do another concept record, please. I beg you.
And a band
Please
that will
don't.
still melt your face live.
Absolutely.
Just ruling live
Dude.
band.
Brings it. Although,
Best.
can we talk about maybe it's time for them to hang it? Maybe it's time for them to hang it, right?
They're
They
getting
don't.
there. They're getting there.
The 2 main guitar players that built the foundation of this band are now both gone.
Oh, they're both gone now?
Well, Tipton's got Parkinson's, so he's not going to tour. I mean, he
missed
might be
out on
around
that.
for the writing, but it's not the same. If it's not KK and Glenn, it's not the same.
You have to have at least one of them. When I saw him live with just KK, The other guy, the fill-in guy, was cool because
Richie Faulkner.
He wasn't showboating. He was just doing his job out there.
Sure, he's capable, but being capable isn't being. We'll get into that. I'm going to touch on that exact point later on. My last dishonorable mention. I don't have guilty pleasures. I like what I like, and if you don't like the fact that I like it, too bad. I don't know what to say to you. I don't feel guilty about liking anything. And I'm not a huge country music fan, but the country that I do like, Garth Brooks is one of those simplistic kind of. I don't know what about him, but I like him. But again, people that don't have any reason to be making a concept record decides to make a concept record, and it's not even a country music concept record.
This is a good pick.
Although I don't know what that would be like, but I want it.
Not even being a fan.
Garth Brooks in 1999 did a I have to read this straight from here because you're not even going to believe that this even exists. It's a concept album about a fictitious Australian rock star. And it was going to be the soundtrack to a film about said rock star called The Lamb.
Wow.
And this album flopped so hard. He hosted Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Chris Gaines was the musical guest. He didn't even let the audience in on the fact that it's the same person. He acted like they were two different people. That's how in his head he was with this concept.
Was there a lot of cocaine involved in this?
I hope so. Garth, if you're watching, come down here. Let's talk about this album. Was there a lot of cocaine involved?
Did he style his hair, or was it a wig?
I think I want to say it's a wig.
To style like that?
I don't know. And then the soul patch, which is never a good
This record is trash. It was a flop. Nobody understood it.
It's just
and it wasn't done by somebody that you could even see doing something like that.
We want Garth in the Friends with Low Places, in the 8 coming down till the sun goes up, or whatever.
Black and white.
We want the rope in the wind. We want worn out tapes of Chris Ledoux.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
That's kind of an ill-fitting giant.
And we're sorry that that's all we want from you, Garth, but that's where you shine. So just stay there. Write the monster country hits. And
let's add this too. He was on top of the world.
Top of the world.
He was the biggest selling musical artist of the time, if not all time. He sold millions and millions of records, hundreds of millions of records. That pretty much ended his career for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite 20 years. He kind of came back, but yeah.
That Walmart crowd did not know how to handle that.
Exactly.
They were like, "What are you doing, Garth Brooks? No, what's this Chris Gaines?" Yeah, so there it is. There's
that's a good one, man.
Right?
That could almost be in the top 5 just because it was such a bad move.
Terrible.
Failure.
Keep roping the wind, Garth.
Man.
Leave that Chris Gaines alone.
God. The only thing he kept was the little microphone piece, probably. He probably still rocked that while he was Chris Gaines.
I remember him playing Oakland. I didn't go, but I was down visiting my sister in the Bay. And he played Oakland, and they did like a giant full page. He just saw some kid in the crowd and just walked out of the crowd and gave this kid his $8,000 guitar that he plays.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like, what a memory for that kid.
Yeah.
Then he crapped on it with Chris Gaines.
It's bizarre.
Ruined that kid's whole life, probably.
Bizarre.
It's probably
one
on
of the
eBay
strangest things. Man, I feel kind of shameful about my list now.
Oh man, I can't
but
wait.
These are just some dishonorable mentions. I kind of saved my best for my top 5, but
I love it.
But speaking of conceptual failures, the Lou Reed and Metallica, Lou. What were those guys thinking? I mean,
okay, so do you consider that a Metallica record or a Lou Reed record with Metallica playing on it?
If I had to side with one of those, I'd say Lou Reed.
I agree.
I don't know where these guys met up and were drunk or something and talked about the idea of getting together and doing this thing. Main reason this is on my list is because you do not need to listen to this album. Just don't even think about it, really.
And how can two things so really awesome come together and make something really not?
Unfortunately,
Lou Reed's awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge Lou fan and obviously a Metallica fan, if you know me. But I didn't have a lot of high hopes for Metallica doing something like this when I heard about it. Although I had no idea what it was going to sound like. But it's really kind of like some experimental recordings by Metallica, kind of chopped up and looped, and kind of, it's almost mostly Lars. It seems
they
like
can't really.
Anyway.
They can't really tone down to fit something else into their curriculum, so to speak. So yeah, I agree.
I don't know if Metallica thought that would elevate them working with Lou Reed. I don't know. It was just a bad idea.
I think they just don't care because they're so big they can do whatever they want.
I'm talking too much about that record. This one's gonna be a little controversial. Not with you guys here, but I know some people think this was artistically a masterpiece of a record. Bjork's album called Medulla. I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to this record. It was experimental, it was a unique concept, but I just can't listen to it. I don't think it's a listenable record. The concept was everything was made out of vocal samples. So she got other musical artist friends, interesting people to record just vocals, and then that was cut up and turned into collaged pieces of music, and I just don't like it. I'm sorry. I think throw that out of her catalog.
I mean, Bjork is kind of synonymous with experimental and doing things kind of out of the box. So for her to go even way further into that territory almost makes it unlistenable.
She's done experimental things that were invented for that recording.
She's very unique, and I do dig her. But that's
but there was just nothing to hook on to with this. The songs just didn't feel good to me. So you don't have to take my word on that one, but personally, that is not.
Personally, I just want to see her get back with the Sugar Cubes.
That would be awesome.
That would be great.
She actually did do a reunion with them within the last decade.
That'd be cool.
Only in Iceland, though.
Yeah, well, it's an excuse for me to go to Iceland.
This one I'm throwing in there because these guys were perfect up until this point. A band you could not argue with one bit of their output.
I'm almost venturing to say I know who you're
going
to say.
You probably don't, because it's actually not a band, but Down with the King by Run DMC. Maybe not the worst record in the world, but you're going along with their first couple records, and Raising Hell is just a smash hit record, and then Tougher Than Leather was amazing, but times had kind of changed a little bit.
And you know why that record sucks, don't you? I mean, you know what Down with the King alludes to, correct?
Run became Rev Run.
Yep. Start putting all that religion
if you look
garbage
at the, if you
into
look
music.
at the picture of Run DMC on the cover of this record, they're still all in black, but now they're wearing super baggy, sagged.
If you're gonna sing about religion, you gotta go Satan. The only people that can sing about God and kind of get away with it, and you're kind of okay with it, is Stryper or Petra. Anyone else is kind of.
I loved Petra back in the day.
I know, right? They were so awesome. Like rocking for God.
They were good, man.
They were like the God Iron Maiden.
But that was also kind of a gateway to heavier music for me. I had a friend who he had a little Dawkins, then he had some Petra. I don't know why.
I remember getting
like what he was allowed to listen to.
Church groups and youth groups and stuff by our mutual friend Jeremy Barnhart and his brothers. They were like way into God, and that stuff used to get pumped hard, like the Petra.
At least
like
they were
you
trying
can
to
rock and still love
trying
God.
To make it rock, dude. You know, they were trying to give us some heavy metal
Yeah,
with
I
our
agree
religion.
I didn't think that's where you were going, but yes, I agree.
So anyway,
that's
with Run DMC,
record.
just stop before that record. Listen to everything else. You don't need Down with the King.
Raising Hell is just brilliant.
Yeah.
In fact, when you look at it, we are kind of like Run DMC with Jay being Jam Master Jay, although he's alive, not dead. Thank God.
I got to see Run DMC in Eureka.
Shut up.
This was around
For real?
97, 96, 97. We had a club here that didn't last very long. It was owned by El Jefe from NoFX.
I remember that.
They got
it was
Run
still
DMC,
open when I
dude.
came home towards the end of the 90s.
Okay, yeah. They got Run DMC to play, and Jam Master Jay was still alive. And it's one of the greatest concerts I've ever seen in my life.
That would have been
They
fun.
sounded, looked, acted
Because
exactly
that wasn't
like
a giant
Run
club
DMC.
either. That was...
No, it was pretty intimate. I was right near the front of the stage on DMC's side of the stage.
My first job coming home from when I came home from the military was a bouncer at Club West.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it
Saw some good shows at Club West too.
Sucked.
I could see that. All right, where am I? Okay, this one, I don't even really hate this record, but some people do, and it's clearly rated as one of their worst records. Technical Ecstasy by Black Sabbath. You don't think that should be on my list?
I mean, if we're going Sabbath from the first 8 Sabbath records,
I know what
wouldn't
he's
we
gonna
say
say.
Never Say Die?
Never Say Die rules. That is a
These
wrongly
albums,
maligned record.
okay, these albums towards the end of the Ozzy era are not great because look at the predecessors you had to work with. So I'm not gonna.
Sabbath.
I'm gonna kind of agree.
By the point that Sabbath did Technical Ecstasy, they probably didn't even want to be hanging out with each other anymore.
The love had gone.
Bill Ward, the drummer, he had some issues, and clearly Ozzy and the rest of the band probably had done their time together, at least for that period of time. I'm sure cocaine was a huge factor.
Huge factor
in this record.
Another cocaine fueled.
And I believe that it's one of those records that they just kept doing take after take after take, probably not even in the studio at the same time. So personally, I can listen to Technical Ecstasy. It's cheesy compared to the first 6 Sabbath records. Those records, hands down, ruling. But I like cheesy metal music, so.
But it's kind of that they, I don't want to say rope-a-dope. They kind of lull you into that like monster album after monster album after monster album, and then they just kind of the wheels just kind of abruptly fell off.
Yeah, and so.
Luckily, because we got the Dio era and the Tony Martin era.
Thankfully, Dio came in and saved the day. But it's on my list as top dishonorable mentions because it makes a lot of people's list of dishonorable mentions. So I just thought it belonged in there.
I don't disagree with that.
Here's another one that's going to upset people who love this band, as I do. And frankly, it confounds me that this record is as loved as it is. Because to me, it is so uncomfortable sounding.
If you say flick of the switch,
no, I'm not
flipping
going there.
out.
I wouldn't do that to you guys. I love AC/DC. This is an artistic failure, in my opinion, by a band who some people think were still riding high artistically. It's Little Creatures by Talking Heads. It's got some of their biggest tunes on it, Road to Nowhere. I just do not like the sound of it. I don't like the production of it.
I think it's another one of those, they tried to write a radio record.
They did, but they also were falling apart as a band. Basically, the whole band was sick of David Byrne. 2 of the members were married. They wanted to do their own musical stuff. Jerry Harrison probably was like, whatever, this just isn't fun. They had some of their biggest videos from this album.
Yeah, I don't much
biggest
care
pop
for
hits.
it either. I don't like their poppy stuff.
And I just, at some point, I chucked it out of my collection. I just never want to
Don't
hear
need
this
it.
record.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, I got rid of it. And, you know,
Did you see the?
no offense to people who love it.
Did you see the video I posted on my Facebook page the other day?
I should have
them
seen it.
doing Psycho Killer,
Oh, no,
where they
I missed
all look like tennis instructors from Club Med. They got the polos on.
Oh,
so
really?
funny.
I missed that.
To look for it. I agree. It's not good. I don't like that record at all. I don't even really like those hits. Though.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like the sound of that album.
It's just
I
watered
said that
down
enough.
and weak.
Sorry, everybody. All right, dude. I got one more. I don't even know. I wrestled with even bringing this up, and it really should be in my top 5.
Oh, juicy.
The reason it should be in my top 5 is because it broke my heart for all time. For about 28 or 29 years now, this record just hurts my heart. And it's not considered a bad album. I don't even think it's on any lists of bad albums by great bands. But I do not like it, and I'm not afraid to tell you. The Black Album by Metallica. I was thinking that you guys might say, no, that's a great record. I don't think it's the worst record ever made. Obviously, it's a huge record. It's got some songs I don't even hate.
But it's huge for all the wrong reasons.
It's
huge because they placated to the masses instead of doing what they do.
And yeah, I realize some people would probably argue that they forged a new identity in a way. But to me, they lost the identity that made them brilliant. And I don't know really where it comes from. It's probably between James and Lars.
Well, I think they got scared. You don't want to paint yourself into a prog corner after Injustice, because that album must have been a monster to have to try to play night after night. It's so.
That's probably fair to say. Yeah.
It is so technically advanced, and it's so just hardcore.
And we can mention there's Metallica fans who cut off at Injustice.
There's
I know hardcore Metallica fans that will not even listen to that, which I think is insane.
Those people are dumb. Those people.
In some ways, that's the best record they made.
I know that it's not mixed well. If you take that out of the equation and the explanation for why, then you look. That's a
the mix doesn't even bother me on that record.
That's a phenomenal record.
I am a huge Metallica fan, as are these two other gentlemen here. But for me, it was Kill 'Em All to And Justice for All. And the Black Album broke my heart. I have tried probably every 2 years for the last 30 years. I try to reevaluate that record, and it just...
I remember, I think your location was over by where Bon Bonnier used to be, right over
when
around
that album came out.
When that album came out.
We had just moved over.
The morning it came out, you guys opened at like 10 or 11. I was walking in, paid my $7.50 for my cassette tape. I listened to it and I threw it away because it's crap.
Wow.
Watered down crap.
I did not know that.
I hate that record.
You chucked it right then and there.
I chucked it. I hated it. I did go see them on tour that they supported that record, and it was mostly boring, but you want to see them play the bangers. And they toured with Guns N' Roses. I couldn't miss that.
I'm going to say this right now too. That's also around the time that Metallica's live performances started to suck, in my opinion. I've watched the video footage. Lars,
it's not like the old days.
A great live drummer. They just got bloated and full of themselves, and it's just overwrought, overthought.
I am
not. I do not like it.
I refuse to speak anymore on this record.
So that caps off my.
You might see it somewhere in my top 5.
That caps off my.
Those are your
dishonorable mentions.
Dishonorable mentions. That's a good list of horrible albums. Let's waste no time. And I'm not going to act like I'm going to be on some of this stuff I don't even...
Let's just say this right now, too. People don't get to see Jason behind the camera here.
No.
But he's putting as much thought into this.
Absolutely.
He's participating in this. With
And
us.
they don't understand that. Yeah, I call him the metal maniac because he is, but he is like us, where his tastes in music are very wide ranging. I won't out all of the things that he likes. I'm gonna keep some of my secrets and some of his secrets. I'm not gonna tell you because I don't dislike some of the stuff that he likes. Although B-52s is one of them.
I'm peeking at the list.
So at 5 he has "Calling All Stations" by Genesis. I mean, deep diving already.
Yeah.
"Keeping the Summer Alive" by the Beach Boys. Is that the one with that Kokomo?
Wow.
God, I hate that song. Oh, I hate that song so much. I don't want to. Oh.
I like that song.
I hate that song. "Undercover" from Ozzy.
Yeah.
"Balance of Power" by ELO.
Does anybody even know that record?
That's how amazing that guy is. But ELO, yeah, it hurts when ELO makes a bad record because they're awesome.
Yeah.
And Night in the
Ruts.
Night in the Ruts by Aerosmith.
Now, Night in the Ruts was they had
They were
a
in a
handful of
rut.
albums out, but it's not as deep into their career as you might think.
At least you didn't go, was it Playing with Mirrors or... I like that
Done
record.
with Mirrors.
Yeah, I like that
I like
record.
that record a lot too. That
But
actually,
a lot of people hate that record.
yeah, it makes the list of bad albums,
It
which
does.
kind of bums me out. I like Done with Mirrors,
So do I.
but
Because let the music do the talking. It's my favorite Aerosmith song. And I'm not a huge Aerosmith guy by any stretch of the imagination.
so Undercover by Ozzy. That's just, you don't need it. Don't even need to try it. Keeping the Summer Alive is the album with Kokomo, is that right? See, I know that song, but I've never even heard of that album title.
And just off of Kokomo, throw the whole thing away.
It was basically Mike Love, Beach
You
Boys.
do
which
not
are-
need the Beach Boys after like, what, 70?
You can go, no, well, yeah, depends what
Just
you like.
stick with the early stuff. And
Brian Wilson stayed with them for a while. They got into some good yacht rock territory.
I do love my yacht rock.
Yeah.
You ready
Good
to
list
crack
of trash
into it?
albums by
It's a great
Jason.
list of trash
You don't need
records.
to even.
This is
think
how his
about
brain
checking this
works.
out.
Look at how mathematical he was, and he was like, I gotta think
There's
of
some
this.
quadratic formula
There's
to how he came to that decision.
Starting the top 5, my band that fell into the number 5 slot only has one bad record in their entire discography.
This is exciting.
3 singers, 1 bad record.
God, I know.
You know where I'm going?
I accidentally
I'm
peeked.
going Van Halen 3. Just wipe it
Number
off.
3, which
Wipe
is
it off.
not
Their
a
third-
Diamond Dave or
Yeah.
a Hagar record.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of knows the story. The Van Halen brothers burned their bridges,
Yeah.
hardcore style, and after their 2 very successful
Yeah.
eras, which is difficult for a band to do, they get Gary Cherone from Extreme, but mostly this was an Eddie Van Halen solo record. He played a lot of the instruments on it. It was kind of the beginning of the end for
Wow.
Michael Anthony,
Wow.
because he played most of the bass on that record, and the wheels just really.
Man.
And they came back with that. What is it? Some kind of Truth or whatever that. But that was all older material.
Oh, right. Are you saying that was their first studio record since?
Yeah,
Three?
that was the
Yeah.
first one after that. But that was all old material from when
Right,
they
and
were
that's why
first together.
that's why that record works pretty well. They get David Lee Roth back, and they were smart. They said, let's not try to write new songs. Let's dig back into the
let's dig
stuff we
back into
scrapped
it.
a
It
long
was
time
good.
ago.
With the exception of Tattoo, that was the only clunker on that
Yeah.
album. That was a great album, but
Tattoo's kind of
this-
cheesy, but because I like the whole record, that song.
this record, no.
And there's something unique to the Van Halen brothers. They are geniuses, but their need to be completely in control makes them hard to work with. I mean, they get along with Sammy pretty well, but then they
For a
have-
time, yeah,
but
they
then
get
have-
along with everyone for a time,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
at some point it just.
And I think it's because they're not going to let anybody into the creative process of that band, I don't think. Sammy put a stamp on it, but I think it probably got to a point where...
But he can write, and he can play, and he can do all these things, and he already came with a certain amount of reputation.
Yeah, that's true. The Red Rocker had been around for a while.
Cerrone has said, or Sharon, or however you pronounce that, he has said that he wished they would have toured first, got everyone kind of used to what he brings to the table, and then try to record an album instead of... Because it really isn't a Van Halen record. Honestly, it's kind of just an Eddie Van Halen record.
Well, I can tell you this, since the day it came out, I haven't listened to it since.
It has one good song on it, Without You, the only song that's worth listening to, and...
Yeah. So basically, you don't have to feel bad for not counting that as a Van Halen record.
You don't. No. And it's the only bad Van Halen record. It's the only bad Van Halen record.
It's pretty cool you feel
that way. Which is kind of amazing. You can't name another bad...
I'm a Diamond Dave Van Halen fan, and the Sammy stuff I haven't loved as much, but I do have a special place for 5150. Love that record. And I don't think the records after that are bad.
They're not, because they're great.
Yeah, my heart's with the first 6 Van Halen records. The DLR records.
All right.
But I'm with you.
Okay. That's number 5. That's my 5.
All right. Man, I didn't even put my stuff in order on here.
Because it can just be wherever?
It can be wherever. And I'll start off with this one, because this is a little lighter. This isn't as heavy of a hitter. But this was a band that, at 15 years of age, just blew my mind. It was everything I liked rolled into one. It was classic rock like Zeppelin. It was hair metal. It was punk. It was Hollywood. Jane's Addiction made 3 amazing records, one of them being their debut live record, and 2 studio records, and then they were gone. Never coming back. I thought they lost Eric Avery, their original bass player. It seemed like he never wanted to get back together with the band. Perry Farrell had some solo success.
Odd Duck.
Dave Navarro did some stuff. But then they come back together in 2003 with Strays.
I have never even listened to that record.
You don't need to. If you were comparing it against late 90s, or I guess it's early 2000s, if you were comparing it against that era of alternative rock, it's not the worst thing in the world, but Jane's would never be the same again.
No, they had their golden moment.
It became homogenized.
They didn't even need to stay together after that period.
No, they didn't.
Just
no, a band like that, when you kind of crack the sky and do something as unique and phenomenal as what they did in a few years early on, you don't. If you're done,
there's
the band falls apart, you don't need
There's a pressure to live up to the expectations of the records you're putting out. And when you put out Nothing Shocking and Ritual, I don't love Ritual as much as Shocking, but when you put those records out and you got to kind of follow it up, and you're following it up years after the fact, it's almost impossible.
Yeah,
just go do your own thing.
Please don't do it. So that's my first one. Just throw out Strays. I don't even consider it a real Jane's Addiction record, so sorry.
I thought we were going to be fighting way more, and then maybe next one, maybe number 4 will, really.
I got one on my list we might fight, though.
Oh, I can't wait. It's hard for me to add this band to this list, because I don't really even think they're great. And honestly, they only really have one good record. And that's... just so happens that record is a monster, and it's Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. And then I don't know what happens. Do they is the ego too big? Is the drugs too much? They put out Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Unnecessary. Completely bloated garbage records. But here's the thing. if you parsed them down and
Yeah.
whittled the filler out, you would have one incredible record.
Yeah.
But the first volume, they put them out the same day. So the first volume is 16 tracks, right around 76 minutes. The second volume is 14 tracks, right around 76 minutes.
How many years after Appetite was this?
Well, see, Appetite was what, 86? 87? So this is what, 91?
Okay.
91.
4 years.
They just, you're doing too much. We don't need it. As much as I love Appetite for the sleazy production and the not lo-fi, but almost kind of low end. It wasn't overproduced. It wasn't over sparkled. It was a love letter to that era.
Oh,
This is exactly the opposite. It's overproduced. It's over stylized. They tried to be too much. But like I said, if you whittled it down, you'd have one great record.
So,
just go back and don't overproduce it.
November Rain might have been the biggest hit song from Use Your Illusions.
It's overly long. Great solo by Slash on it.
Yeah.
One of their big tracks from that was a cover of a McCartney Wings song, Live and Let
I
Die.
can't stand that. I hate that.
I have known since starting to work for the record store that Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 were hugely popular. We sold the heck out of those, sold them all the time.
Guns N' Roses were huge in that
And
era.
I don't even know how to qualify my feelings about those records. After Appetite, I didn't hear anything that felt the same. That felt like they were following up with the same level of quality, but I also felt like maybe it's perhaps because they were so huge, and maybe I might have even thought I was missing something. Like, everybody else seems to love this. What am I missing here? I don't know. So they're not on my list, but I honestly never listened to either of those albums. Appetite is basically a perfect hard rock record. Uniquely, as you mentioned, a band who doesn't even have that much output.
No, they really
Made,
don't.
I think, arguably one of the greatest rock and roll records of all time.
Yeah, it's
Because
definitely
it's
up
unique,
there.
because
It's definitely up there.
It comes out
And
in
it
'87. There was nothing else
took
quite as.
everything by storm.
And coming out of the Hollywood Sunset Strip
Yeah.
scene, they were coming behind bands that had already established the sleaze rock, the hair rock, but really they weren't trying to make that kind of a record.
They had all the same influences, yet did it different enough.
It was
to,
more like the Stones and AC/DC,
Yeah.
and more just pure rock and roll.
That's a great record. And then they followed it up
just a
with
perfect record.
Bloated.
Yeah,
Just
I think it was Axl Rose, dude. That guy was tripping.
it's an egomaniac. but
Axl was tripping.
that's kind of what makes a great frontman. You gotta kind of have somewhat of
When
an
you're-
ego, but you
when
gotta be
you're
able to
wearing-
rein it in.
When you're wearing a white tuxedo that's made up of a tuxedo jacket, no shirt, and bicycle shorts,
Yeah, he's an odd
you're
dude.
you're high on something. You're an egomaniac, playing a grand piano at the edge of a cliff.
He's way too into himself. But I love Duff.
Duff rules, man.
He's a
Well, Duff came out of the punk rock underground, and he's just a cool dude, man.
That's by 4. I thought
Yeah.
I'd get a little pushback on 4, but apparently not.
No, I'm okay with that one. All right, man. I guess I'm just going to piggyback off of that, and we'll keep this short. If you agree with Greg on the Use Your Illusions, well, then this record, you just don't even need to think about it. One iota, one moment of your life need not be spent on this, but it kind of follows the same theme, except this took, maybe I will have a few things to say. This took years to be made, and it's possibly the most expensive record ever made. It's Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses, which isn't even really a Guns N' Roses record because it has
nobody's in it.
There's no Duff, there's no Slash, there's no Steven Adler, there's nobody from it.
Izzy won't even have anything to do with the...
No. And I actually wrote down a list of
revival.
people that signed on to work with Axl in trying to make this record. This record took like almost 10 years of him trying to put this together and stuff. He worked with Brian May, Sebastian Bach, Buckethead, Tommy Stinson from The Replacements, Twiggy Ramirez from Marilyn Manson, and Dave Navarro. This record cost $13 million. And that was after
hot garbage.
That was after 3 years before the record came out. Geffen Records pulled out of backing the record anymore. It's just this. It's bloated, indulgent.
As bad as these two records are, you can hone them into one amazing work.
Yeah.
I could take that's 30 tracks. I could make a 14-song record that would bang.
Yeah.
Take away the production, add the same production level as Appetite, you've got a great. That one, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's not. You're an insane person if you're like, oh my God, I love Chinese Democracy. It's such a great record. No, it isn't.
No.
Stop. You're fooling yourself because you want it to be good.
I know you may have gone out and bought it on day one.
That would be foolish.
Because you were hoping.
I think they give that away on eBay right now. Yeah. Like you buy a box of cereal and they're like, here, have Chinese Democracy. It's our gift to you.
That's the best thing you've said so far. Oh shit.
No, I agree. I'm fully. See, we're right. I thought we were gonna fight so hard today.
Yeah. Well,
I tried.
It'd be fun, but
we're gonna fight right now, though.
Okay.
Are you ready?
We're pretty in sync.
We're gonna fight right now.
But the thing is, also, Greg will just shut me down if he thinks I'm full
I
of shit.
love your takes, even though when I disagree with them.
What do we got, dude?
Certain bands are fueled by drugs and drama. One of the best bands ever fueled by drugs and drama, Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
So forget all of the early era Peter Green Fleetwood Mac. Don't bother. We're talking the streamlined magic of the five.
Well, hold up.
The magic five.
I don't want to encourage anybody not to bother with Peter Green.
I'm encouraging you. The best thing Fleetwood Mac ever did in that era was write Green Manalishi with a two-pronged crown so that Judas Priest could cover it. Yeah. That's the only thing.
They also had a song called "Oh Yeah," which is ridiculously
That's the toilet
amazing.
flushing.
No.
So Fleetwood Mac,
sorry.
the five. When you put the five together, there's magic.
There's different eras of Fleetwood Mac.
The undercurrent of that is the friction and the drama.
Exactly.
So when that starts to fade, they don't have anything to lean on. 1987, they put out a record called Tango in the Night. And it is trash.
Not only is he trashing the early blues significance of Fleetwood Mac.
You don't need it.
I think he's not even aware of the second period with the Danny Kirwan and Bob Welch and
don't
Christine McVie.
Need it. It's unnecessary.
That's not true.
The only Fleetwood Mac you need is the Magic Five.
That just talking about the final and most successful incarnation of Fleetwood Mac, which I love, wrote some of my favorite records of all time. Wow, Tango in the Night.
It's garbage.
No feeling for that record.
I like Big Love.
See, it's got Big Love on.
But that's it. It really should not have been a Fleetwood Mac record. It really was a Lindsey Buckingham solo record. And then he tried to get everyone he was really the glue at that point. Stevie Nicks would come in, the studio was at his house. She was uninterested because she was doing her solo stuff right around the same time. Yeah. She's uninterested. It's well written that she had to get a little tipsy to start singing. So by the time she was laying down tracks, her stuff was almost unusable. So there's tracks she's not even on. the magic of the five when you put them together in those early records and the rumors and that kind of stuff, all faded by this point, and they're putting out bland, garbage radio stuff that's written for. It's homogenized. You get these things where they were talking about the hurt and the pain and the anguish and all these things that a person feels, and then they follow it up with what? Radio garbage, like so radio friendly.
They're really
crap.
Together as a band at this point, kind of contractually.
Yeah, really the wheels completely fell off. The record itself took 18 months to finish.
I do. Yeah.
Like 18 months. That's crazy.
With Buckingham,
with people that
in the
don't
studio
like
at 4 a.m. This isn't right. I gotta redo
tool
this.
They were basically barely functioning.
I do really like the song "Big Love" because I think it does kind of exemplify that sort of unhinged feeling of Lindsey Buckingham. But yeah, I don't listen to Tango in the Night. I mean, I probably had it around, but when I reach for a Fleetwood
album cover,
when I reach for a Fleetwood Mac
songs,
album, I'm not pulling that one out generally.
Because you don't need it.
I want to ask this question though, since homie over here loves Lindsey Buckingham, how does he weigh in on Tango in the Night?
Very simply, Greg's totally right. Lindsey Buckingham is the glue. Big Love is the only good song on it. And let me add one thing. They booted Lindsey Buckingham out of the band before that tour and didn't even let him tour with him. That's how stupid they were. And they've done that more than once.
The Metal Maniac has spoken.
Peace out.
For the first time.
Let me tell you how brilliant what he said was, because I'm gonna take it a step further. How did they replace Lindsey Buckingham in Fleetwood Mac? They bring in 2 guitar players at a time to replace this man.
Yep.
That's how integral his playing is. That's how integral his singing is to the band. They got to replace him with not 1 but 2 dudes. You can't. Fleetwood Mac only exists in that 5. That's the only way it works. And when you start fiddling with it, it's not worth listening to. This album is a radio tame, uninspired piece of trash.
There you have it.
And I don't care if the hits are popular. Yeah, that's right. Your grandparents like it. So what?
If Metal Maniac
I'm not listening to Lawrence Welk either.
If Metal Maniac tosses that record to the curb,
that's right, and you don't.
Then you better follow suit, really.
You know how big of a fan is, but you don't know. Like I know.
Yeah.
Like this dude spent the better part of 5 years tracking down a Lindsey Buckingham record for the song Holiday Road. That's how much of a Lindsey Buckingham lifer this dude is. Like he's all in it.
Where do you get
I now have the extended version of Holiday Road.
I know that was used in Vacation.
Correct.
But I never thought about tracking down.
That's how
I want that.
That's how in it he is. He's
I want that at least on a 45.
You have, and Dancing in the USA, Lindsey Buckingham on Vacation, plays in the credits at the end of the movie. Amazing track.
I forgot about Holiday Road, dude.
No, you can't.
That song rules, man.
It's unbelievable.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. That's why him and I are lifers, man.
That's the best thing on your list right there.
No, I got 2 more.
Well, I'm just in terms of what it elicited.
Yeah.
That's some deep stuff right there.
Deep stuff.
All right. Am I on my
You're
third?
number 3.
This
You're at this is number 3.
I'm midway through my list here.
Halfway point.
All right. Okay. I know what I'm saving for last. Okay, so we're going to go to a record that just really kind of has no reason to exist. In my opinion, I listened to it again last night. Maybe compared to a really bad band, this could be an okay album. You know, if you suck or you're just kind of mediocre to begin with, this could be an okay record. But after a band has 6 just loaded records, nary a bad song, well, sometimes tensions start to flare. Some of the reasons some of these items are on our list is for those same reasons. Mardi Gras by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Just chuck that record out, man.
You could chuck out anything they ever did. I can't stand them.
You don't like...
No, I can't stand that twangy country southern crap rock.
All right, well,
hate it.
We're gonna put the mute button on this guy right now because they not only have one greatest hits CD with 20 songs on it, they have two. That's 40 songs that you know and love.
Every single band that's ever been around puts out a greatest hits record. That don't mean they're hits, and that don't mean they're great.
Okay, great songs.
No.
40 great songs collected on.
Oh, and I've been. It's been shoved down my throat forever. I mean,
wow.
This is where him and I will disagree. I can already tell he's staring at. I'm trying to avoid his gaze because he's giving me that death look right now. Because he's a Fogerty guy, but I can't stand it.
Me and Jason.
I don't want to put him in, coach. He's ready to play. I want to hit him in the head with a bat. Get him to shut up.
He is at the very upper echelon of great American songwriters.
No.
And that is the reason this album sucks.
He's not in the top 100.
That is so just kind of pathetic. That you feel that way.
Let it out. Let the feelings come
you're
out.
like a dying salmon trying to swim upstream to spawn right now. Everybody knows that Fogerty is just one of the greatest.
I know there are people. Come on with the Fogerty hate in the comment section. Please back me up.
The reason this record sucks is because
it's a CCR record.
The band started being butthurt that Fogerty wrote all the great tunes and they didn't get to have a say in that. And so his brother, Tom Fogerty, leaves. And then at that point, John acquiesces and lets Stu Cook and Doug Clifford write and sing their own songs. And it's just a failure.
The only thing good that came out of CCR is the lawsuit where CCR sued Fogerty for
Fantasy Records.
For what was it?
The president of Fantasy Records sued him for sounding too much like himself.
Yes, that was just a brilliant song. Hilarious.
Whatever solo song he had, they said it sounded like "Run Through the Jungle" or something.
Yeah, it's like I wrote that song. You can't sue me for.
When I heard that, I didn't even believe that. Like, I don't think it held up. I don't think.
None of those songs are good. That band's garbage.
Wow.
Don't listen to any of it. Just save it. It's like that Lemon Skinhead band that I can't stand either. Leonard Skinner.
I'm just perplexed, man. I'm perplexed.
It's all redneck trash.
All right, what you got?
I'm way outside. Like, you guys aren't even gonna be in. You guys are just gonna tune me out now because I kind of was mainstream, and now I'm out of mainstream. I am a very large fan of the band Dream Theater. Big time Dream. I think of all of my music catalog, I own the most records from these guys, and they had some turnover, and I think the downslide of this band came when Mike Portnoy left. Mike Portnoy founded the band. He was kind of the rudder. He kind of kept the direction. He wrote, so they bring in, like we were talking about earlier, just because you can play the stuff doesn't mean that you should. Mangini plays well. He's accomplished. He's a great musician. But he doesn't bring the same. He doesn't bring the same writing style. He doesn't bring the same anything. And when Portnoy left, it kind of was a chance for the lead singer to basically take control.
Let's tell people, if they're not familiar with Dream Theater, that Portnoy is the drummer.
The drummer. He's the drummer. He was their focus. He was the driving force behind the band.
And Mangini, I know him a little bit. He is He's known for having fastest single stroke drum roll, as far as I know.
Yeah, he's accomplished. He can play, but he doesn't do anything else. So you're just playing stuff that other people write for you.
Yeah.
And in this band, that's a very difficult lane to stay in.
It's an interesting phenomenon when the founding member, the core member of the band, leaves, and then the band still continues on.
Well, kind of the way it kind of went down is they have a grueling schedule. It doesn't seem like they ever really take a break. And he just kind of wanted to take a break and do some other things. And they were like, no, let's go back and let's record. Let's get out for another album. He's like, I need a... So he stepped away. And he did some other stuff. He did some Avenged Sevenfold stuff, which is... That band's pretty much trash except for one record. He did some other things. He's doing a ton of stuff now. Like, I think him and Mike Patton are vying for who can be in the most bands ever. But when they had that first record come out, it wasn't so bad. Then they put out another record, and that's when the cracks start. And then they put out this record for a band that could probably pull off a concept record. They tried it and failed miserably.
Wow.
And it's called The Astonishing, and it's 2 discs of bloated, boring, unfocused, meandering garbage.
You kind of expect a progressive rock,
do.
progressive metal band to be able to do a concept album.
But they can't. It's 34 tracks, 2 hours, 2 discs, completely boring, sounds the same. It's so bad that I didn't even buy the record they released after it. I kind of was like...
So you got that and you were just completely disappointed.
I have it in my... Dream Theater's kind of one of the bands that I'm a completionist on. Not too many bands I'll be a completionist for.
Well, they screwed up.
But
because now you're not a completionist with this band.
It hurt my heart. I really... And they're very divisive in the music world. You either love them or hate them. But I need Portnoy back in that band to take the helm back and to focus them into being as great as they can.
Yeah. Now, would you tell people who are big fans of Dream Theater or they're thinking about
just skip
getting
that record?
Into it, you're telling them just toss that record.
Skip it completely.
Just
skip it. Don't even. Just skip it.
Yeah.
Just skip it. You can have my copy. I'll give it to you. It's trash.
So you actually still have it.
I do have it sitting in. I never listened to it. I listened to it like twice. I listened to it once and was like, God, I hate this.
Yeah.
I hate this. And then I was like, I
think
need to listen to it again.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. But you still don't want to throw it away because you want to.
The worst thing a band can be is boring, especially if you're a prog metal band, and that album is boring. It bores me to tears.
If you're going to be a prog metal band, do not be boring.
No, that is dangerous. That is dangerous.
That's the opposite of what people want.
It is.
Prog is not supposed to be boring.
It amazes me how many people walk up to the door with that big sign that says filming a video and they can't seem to...
Well,
I think the literacy rate in this town is fairly low.
No, I think they're...
You should be at home.
They're hoping for me to be
hanging out on YouTube to see when we're going to post our next video. That's what you should be doing, people. That was my number 2. So
that's a good one.
Your turn.
I think the takeaway from that one is progressive rock should not be boring.
Should not be boring.
You screwed up right there.
You.
All right. This one was not hard for me to put into the list, even though I wasn't that familiar with it. But the reason I'm not that familiar with it is because it sucks. And I listened to it the day it came out. It came out in 2009, and it's the 3rd solo album by this artist. I just don't know what he was thinking. The album called Scream by Chris Cornell. So you don't even know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
Maybe it doesn't need to be on this list because nobody even ever listened to it at all. Maybe it was already thrown away. You know who Chris Cornell is? One of the greatest lead singers of a heavy rock band of all time.
He had some ridiculous pipes on him.
You know, if you like Soundgarden, if you love Soundgarden, a huge reason is because of Chris Cornell's vocals. The dude was a captivating vocalist in a band that was super important for that Seattle scene.
Can I admit something going forward?
I hope it's what I think you might admit.
I generally don't like any of his solo stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not. And you think sometimes where maybe you're in a lane with a band and your solo stuff, you want it to be different. You don't want to do the same thing. But that's not always. I think
that's where he was coming from.
I mean, artistically, I guess it's good for your soul.
I think that's where he was coming from, trying to do a solo thing. And I can respect it to an extent, because I think here's a guy who, you know, one thing some people might not realize about Chris Cornell, too, is that he's a guitar player. So he wasn't just a front man. He co-wrote Soundgarden material.
Yeah, I love Soundgarden.
So he wanted to express himself. There's an acoustic cover version of Billie Jean that you can see on YouTube.
And
I don't need to listen
Nothing
to that
Compares
person.
to You.
Yeah,
he killed it on that.
That was pretty good. That kind of fits the tenor of his voice and a mood. The Billie Jean cover, I don't care about that.
Not so great.
But let me just tell you why I think this record is on my top 5, because it just was just a bad concept, in my opinion. Him trying to go pop, working with the production style of Timbaland.
Yeah.
Nothing against Timbaland for making, producing Missy Elliott, stuff like that.
Justin Timberlake, bringing sexy back.
Yeah, but Chris Cornell piping his voice through auto-tune.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I played it last night. I scanned through every song on it last night. I was aiming to confirm my bias against it for sure, but
make sure I really hate the thing I think I hate.
Yeah,
yep, I hate it.
I'm sorry, Chris. Too. Rest in peace. I mean,
Yeah, that's rough.
We miss him, but sorry, dude. That record sucked.
Every time somebody with depression succumbs to their demons, it scares me, because I think I'm one step closer to being that guy. Like, I've battled with stuff for a long time, ever since being a kid, and so that like him and not that I'm a big Linkin Park fan, but the dude Chester Bennington and all these guys that are like at the top of the world and have so much going for them, to succumb to their inner demons, and it's rough. It's a rough.
Well, we have a show to do, so you have to hang on.
Yeah. Can't go out.
We got this to do here.
But yeah, and I think what happens is you fall in love with certain things, and you love those things so much that when somebody diverts that and wants to be artistic and try something and go out on a limb, it sometimes just doesn't work.
Some people
can this thing is so and they were, even for a band, Soundgarden were very unique and experimental, all the way from punky kind of thrashy stuff to new album kind of stuff to so they had a wide range of sound.
They would fit into the evolution of stoner doom metal too. I mean,
they're one of my loves.
But yeah, I mean, it's very rare that an artist can completely redirect who they are and go, I want to try something completely different. It works every once in a while. I don't know if I can think of a great example right now. And we're not trying to suggest that artists should stay pigeonholed, but reinventing yourself, Garth Brooks, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work in some cases, and so
Well, I think that
Trying
you're
to go
number
pop
one.
for Chris Cornell.
I think you got something in the works where we're gonna fight for your when you unveil your number one. So I'm just gonna get mine out of the way because you've already said it, and we're obviously not gonna fight because I think all three of us are in agreement. 1991, the Black Album.
Thank you.
Number one with a bullet, and when you say bad Metallica records, usually what comes up is Saint Anger, and yeah, that is not a great album. It's the drums are very tinny and thin. It's definitely they tried to write a record for the time. No guitar solos. It's not real great when you sit down and try to write something specifically. But why did they do that? Because they had already done it once. 91, they sit down with Bob Rock, who completely neutered everything amazing about this band, and he just took their balls away. They became a pop metal band, and that's what I call them. They're a pop metal band.
Yeah.
They got real big. They instead of writing stuff and appealing to whoever it appeals to, they sat down and wrote a record trying to appeal to everyone.
If they started out as that band, if that's what they were aiming for originally.
Yeah, but to release those first 4 records and then come out with this nugget, it was just hurt. It hurt.
It's hard for me to say this, even though I'm going to say it. It's hard for me to say it because I do respect a lot of people's love for this record. People I know, people that they enjoy this record, but I'm sorry, I hate this record.
I can't stand it. I do like, Of Wolf and Man, only because it's got they get to say wolf a lot, and that's kind of like, I'm kind of cool with that.
Yeah.
Other than that,
That one's awesome.
The whole record is just a waste of time.
There's even little moments within some of the songs that I might go, ooh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't materialize into what I consider to be brilliant.
A lot of people hate Load and Reload. I don't. I like both those records for the bluesy metal sound they have on them. Where you can see kind of where they were going. With this record, it's just overproduced. They go from prog thrash masterpiece to this limp radio friendly hard rock record. It just everything that's great about them was taken away and watered down and then thrown out to the masses.
It's the beginning of James. I'm not going to try to imitate it, but it's the beginning of him with his yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the beginning of that. He lost. When I say he lost his voice, not his vocal cords, he lost the unique singing voice that he had. That I've tried to explain this to people. It's if you like what he's doing on the Black Album, fine, but everything up to that point was unique in its emotional perspective, unique in its cadence.
Do you like
unique in how it works with the music?
Do you like I think his name is Richard Cheese. You know who I'm talking about?
For sure.
He for those of you who don't know, he makes lounge singer versions of heavy metal songs. To me, this record is somebody doing a lounge metal act. It just doesn't. Nothing on it sounds good.
And I will admit, when it came out, I was so hyped up. I was waiting for the new Metallica.
Yeah,
and
everybody was.
I had heard Enter Sandman, seen the video, and for a moment, I thought that song sounded rad. It was kind of grungier. It was kind of more straight up, hard rock, grungy. Thought the riff was kind of cool. But once I got the whole album and just realized it did not feel like a Metallica record to me, any excitement I had just faded quickly. And Enter Sandman, it's corny to me. It is so corny. Sleep with one eye open.
At this
keeping
record,
your pillow tight.
At this record,
right.
You have to look at this record and then look back at the first 4 and think Fleming Rasmussen is a god level producer, because he honed what they were doing into such chaotic brilliance.
Now you know how at
and
the
then
time,
for this to come out and you're just like, what the hell happened?
at the time, Lars was trying to explain where they were coming from in making the Black Album, saying that they wanted to limit that overindulgence of progressive speed thrash. He wanted to play more in the pocket kind of drum grooves. They had songs like Escape off of Ride the Lightning, or songs like Fade to Black.
Well, they could have gone back to, when you look at their very first record, Kill 'Em All, you could have went back to that style. You didn't have to completely neuter yourself for the radio. They became the antithesis of everything they were.
And they were the band that said they weren't going to sell out
and
by
then
doing
they
music
did.
videos. And then as soon as they had a taste of that success, they went full on with it. So that's your number one.
That's my number one. And it's because the first four records are so amazing. They set the groundwork for everything. So everything that comes out after this record that isn't so good, you'll be like, well, it's not as bad as that. Wait, St. Anger's garbage, yep, but it's not as bad as the Black Album.
All right, well, you're making my transition into my number one. It is St. Anger.
Oh, I thought for sure you were going AC/DC.
No, hell no, dude.
No.
Dude, I'm never going to trash on AC/DC.
Good, because Flick of the Switch is an amazing record.
Yeah, we were talking the other day. I threw out Flick of the Switch is like weaker by comparison to some of their other records. I don't have anything against that. It's not one of their more popular records, but I'm more of a Bon Scott purist for the most part.
You gotta love that.
I would never trash on AC/DC. One of the greatest.
Well, everything after Thunderstruck is unnecessary.
I don't listen to
but
that stuff really.
Up into that.
But they had stuff here and there. Black Ice wasn't a terrible record.
Terrible record. That's a terrible record too.
Come on, they're older dudes. But St. Anger, I was already years of disappointment with Metallica, so it wasn't
heartbreakingly.
It wasn't heartbreaking, but the description of what they were going for hyped me up a little bit. They were trying to bring it back to this raw. They were trying to bring the thrash back into it. That's at least what they acted like. Until they kick out Jason Newsted. They're in a position of needing to audition for a new bass player. They also get the idea to make this documentary called Some Kind of Monster.
It's a great song, by the way.
That is chronicling their process of hiring a new bass player and making this record.
Going to therapy.
While also going to therapy.
The biggest metal band in the world chronicles on video.
Yeah.
That's really the most unmetal thing in the world.
I know. It was so painfully obvious that these are not starving artists anymore.
No.
These guys are rich.
Buying $1 million art.
Yeah, during the film, Lars Ulrich is on the phone negotiating the sales of his art collection.
He was married to Connie Nielsen. It's like, you don't have anything to go. Look at what you're going home to, bro. Like, stop complaining.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's a fascinating film in a way, but
yeah, no, it is.
It's also annoying to see these kind of sniveling, middle-aged rocker dudes not getting along. They're having to go to therapy because they're not getting along. So it's almost.
I kind of almost wish they would have broken up.
Instead of breaking up,
gone into the wind.
Instead of breaking up, which I think they probably were all afraid of, because I mean they're a cash cow at that point.
Well, sure, and the simple fact of the way, I know that everyone loves this band, and I love them too, but everyone in this band has a lane, and Lars and James were driving the truck. And they can only do that because they brought in a guitar player that kept his mouth shut, did what he was told. That guy doesn't have the balls to leave and go do something else because you've seen him never do it.
So this is part of why that record sucks, in my opinion. I'm going against your grain a little bit, I guess, but they're going to therapy. So that right there is a platform for them to try to democratize the process of recording this album. We're going to let everyone bring some stuff to the table.
But do you remember part of that, and part of where I was going with that is if you remember that Kirk Hammett is arguing that by recording this record in the way that they're recording it, it makes it not a piece of art. It makes it a specific.
Right.
It sounds exactly like the time it was put out in, and he's completely correct. But he didn't have the balls to say like, "This is trash. I'm gonna go do my own thing now," because he doesn't have that in him.
I know he kind of just went, "Okay, guys, I guess."
Yeah. I don't like it, but all right,
and
pay me.
That's the thing, is they were building this record in the studio with not one member having anything already produced or any ideas.
Yeah, they didn't bring anything in. They all did it, and that's not the way they wrote records.
No, and so they're in the studio trying riffs, trying licks, and that's where you get Lars deciding to turn the snares off on his snare drum.
His drum sound on that record is so thin, and it's so
thin,
bad. And I'm not a Lars hater. I actually like him. I mean, you're right about the live stuff, but
in the studio, Lars does the work. Yeah, he is one of my favorite drummers of all time. One of the most influential drummers for me.
But I think the Black album really set a trend for this band, where if more people thought the way we thought about Black Record, and it goes nowhere and it completely flops, this band dissolves. Yeah. And we don't have anything that comes after it. But because they were emboldened and empowered to do whatever they want after Black Album, that's why we have this record. That's why we have Load and Reload, which I don't mind. I like them fine. I mean, Hardwired is kind of a throwback, but it's still not great, because what's the pressure? You make these 4 amazing records. If they would have broken up and dissolved right then, they'd be talked about as a perfect band. But instead, they would be they're
legendary.
They're dad rock now.
They would be mythical. They would be a mythical band. Yeah,
Randy Rhoads is universally loved because he was taken so quickly. Yeah. But when you look at him in the pantheon of great guitarists, where does he fit? Because your swath of material is so small.
Yeah, he was a very brief
moment. But he was so amazing. Yeah. But we ruminate impact on that because he didn't stay around. We don't know. Yeah. With these guys, we know exactly where it went, and it didn't go anywhere good. And Black was the unraveling of the whole thing.
They became a ostensibly a pop band selling big time pop rock records. They're heavy.
Yeah, heavy pop.
They're heavy. It's heavy rock, but it's pop. And if you like that, fine. But they broke my heart, man. Metallica is my favorite band of all time. For those early records, I love so much different kinds of music. But when I did the math, kind of like Jason did, I came to.
It's like that meme of the chick with the equation.
Yeah, I did my own quantum physics theory, and I determined that Metallica is my favorite band of all time for those first 4 records. After that, I don't even know who they are anymore. It's like your partner that changed.
I'm gonna dig into a little bit. I'm gonna dig a little bit. Metallica is your favorite band of all time, ever? Over Zeppelin, over Sabbath, over...
Well, Black Sabbath to me is the greatest rock band of all time. I'm just saying, I did the math and determined that Metallica has been with me since I was 11 years old, some Ride the Lightning.
Yeah, notice you
It's-
don't have the
it's-
Black Album on the
No.
or
I would.
any of the
Yeah,
subsequent.
I'm not saying that it's the greatest music ever made. That there aren't.
Yeah, because not
many.
every band can be ABBA.
I'm not saying. I can't wait till we get to talk about ABBA, man.
Bro, you know I'm.
We're gonna fight about it.
No, I love ABBA.
Man,
ABBA's the greatest pop band ever assembled.
they really are. They really
They're
are.
amazing.
You could also do math and figure out that ABBA's the greatest pop group of all time.
ever.
Yeah.
Ever assembled.
So I don't know if I got a little anticlimactic there.
No.
Now we're kind of
No,
ending on.
I thought
on the
we were
ABBA
really
note.
gonna. I thought we were really gonna scream it, but we
That was
didn't.
fun though. Getting to
Love that.
trash on some stuff.
Inevitably, we're gonna do the flip of,
I
you know,
like that,
maybe
yeah.
like records that are
Yeah.
like great bands that had forgotten records that you don't really talk about as
I'm
much
down
anymore.
for that.
Speaking of forgotten things that you should come in here and pick up, when you're done watching this and liking the video and subscribing, please, and sending it to all your friends. Send the video to your friends through text. Put it on your Facebook pages. Get people to come in and talk, and you're going to see things that maybe are a little forgotten, like Odin,
Oh yeah.
who was almost the main focus of
Decline.
Volume 2, the Metal
Yeah,
Years.
The Metal Years.
They
of course.
pumped this band so hard. Look at these attractive gentlemen here.
They were actually
I mean-
heavier than they look right here. They look kind of like
That
a poor
100% looks like a female.
They look like a poor man's Cinderella or something.
I would have asked her out on a date. For real. She's pretty. I mean, but look at these guys. They're amazing. Great album cover. Don't take no for an answer. Yeah, we're in the Me Too era, okay? Take no for an answer. If she says no, homie, just let it go. Just don't do this.
Yeah.
Take no for an answer. Don't be that
That's
guy.
not cool anymore.
We're not Harvey Weinsteining the ladies, okay? Another one I really want to hit. Maybe if I throw this out now, you'll acquiesce to Tuesday. Top 5 female pop singers who you think should do a metal album.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Keep that one in your.
I never have enough time to think
I know.
about these topics though. This
Maybe a
record
one
is-
album wonder.
His follow up was okay, but
Not.
But,
This is so.
he disappeared
Another pretty.
really quickly.
He was a very pretty
Yeah,
guy.
he was really neat.
He was awesome.
He kind of
I
disappeared
really
quickly.
dug him.
He had a hard time with trying to figure out his way in the pop world.
He didn't really. But this is a
He
great,
wanted to be a really big
great
artist,
great
but
record.
then I think he kind of second guessed it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great one. I gotta
Everywhere
grab
that there was a club, there was this track.
I love
And
that track.
everywhere there was this track were ladies singing. I still to this day don't know what they're singing, and I don't know why. I
Yeah.
don't know how it started, but I loved it
Yeah.
every time it happened. An absolute club staple. Can't go wrong with Billy
You know
Idol.
how I feel about Billy Idol.
You don't know what to watch, but you know you want to watch something that's musically involved. Grab a twofer.
Yeah, it's a twofer right there. I'll take up 3 to 4 hours of your
I know.
day. That's a
Harvey
all-timer.
Yurkovich, you're out there somewhere, hopefully watching this video. You know how much I love this movie. This movie's hilarious,
It's an all-timer, dude.
and it was kind of the beginning of that. The Dave Chappelle was his brilliant era, and
Yeah.
it gets crapped on even by the guys who made it, which is they both went on to do the show Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
wrote this movie, and I still think it's hilarious. I wish they do a part 2.
Do you think that'd ever happen? I don't
No,
know.
I don't.
All right. Well, here's a twofer as well. Just I don't see why these are still sitting in my bins. 2 classic Richard Pryor
Pryor was a
live
genius.
performances, and then Eddie Murphy's making kind of a stand-up comeback right now.
He's
jumping
already
back into doing
he's already
stand-up.
distanced himself from things that he said on that
Yeah.
special. So
This was all in good fun.
in the era that it was from.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
But yeah, we don't. there's certain words that we don't have in our lexicon anymore, and it's okay
Sure,
to admit that and say, hey, you know, I've used
still
some
think you can
language
appreciate-
that
Yeah.
maybe isn't now looked on as nice, but
Well, think of it as research.
still funny. Still funny.
I'm going to show these off because they just came in. These are just in excellent shape. They're modern 180 gram audiophile pressings of some classic Dire Straits records. People ask me quite often if I have any Dire Straits on vinyl, and a lot of times I have to say no because when I do get them, they fly out of here. Dire Straits doesn't
Mark
stick
Knopfler,
around long.
very unsung
about
on the
him.
guitar.
He was one of our Jason's picks for underrated guitar players.
That
And,
style, that picking style.
This is a 1980 repress, but that's still kind of vintage. This is a mono pressing. So whenever you see Pet Sounds in mono, you know it's going to sound the best. And it's just a brilliant record. Why it's still sitting on my shelf, I don't
cannot
know.
say anything bad about this record.
It's a perfect record. 1966, kicking off the psych pop of
My
all those bands.
friend who is has since departed this mortal coil, his name was John Bartolotta. And so I always used to be like, it's time to sleep the John B.
Nice.
That was kind of our thing.
Nice.
And
So mono pressing of that.
great,
Come get
great
it.
record.
And another two for just two killer blues records that we have here. We got a Robert Johnson and a Lightning Hopkins. You can't really say Robert Johnson in his prime because he was always in his prime. He didn't last too long on this earth.
Well,
but
you don't sell your soul to the devil
No,
and not
no.
make great records.
So this is just an essential. There's not even that many Robert Johnson records, and he had a very limited amount of songs. But that needs to be grabbed by a blues lover. And then Lightning Hopkins is just awesome.
All those old
and
school
This is something
blues
you're not going to
guys
see
are
very often in the shop.
very,
So
which is
some killer
another
blues.
soon to be topic for us, the unsung heroes of blues.
We can go there. Yeah.
I could probably already come up with a top 5.
So there
We
you
thank
go.
you so much for consuming this product and taking it in and giving us your time. Even if you watch it in little itty bitty segments,
Yeah.
5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, we understand, we get it.
Yeah.
Please like, please subscribe, please come back again and watch, because we're only in
You
the
can-
infancy of
You can
this.
pause it and later go back into
And
your
come back,
YouTube
and then
history. It'll be right there. You
Yeah.
can resume where you left off.
we're getting great feedback. Keep it up. We're gonna keep doing it as long as you want us to keep doing it. So let's drive those numbers up so we can bring more stuff to you. From myself, from the Maniac, from the man, the myth, the legend. Until next time, keep physical media alive.